Hey guys, Greg here on the Vinyl Rundown. I've been away for like 3 or 4 weeks. Did you miss me? Doubt it. Turns out I was on vacation in Ireland for almost 2 weeks. Had an amazing trip and wanted to just share some of that with you. I did hit 4, 5, 6 record stores, a lot of pubs, traveled all over the country, I actually drove 700 miles on the wrong side of the road and lived to tell about it. Absolutely beautiful country. Highly encourage everybody to go there, experience the great scenery, the great pub culture, the history, the castles and the churches and all that stuff. But I did want to talk about music, since my channel is mostly about music and vinyl records. And just give you some of my impressions about what it's like in Ireland and how their music culture is kind of very different from ours, in a good way. First thing I did when I got there, we're walking around Dublin, we have a half day to kill. I get on my phone, I say, okay, show me where the record stores are. And there's, 4 or 5 record stores. We stayed in the heart, downtown Dublin, right next to the River Liffey. The bar district, like Temple Bar, the most famous bar, we're a block from there, and we're in a very noisy, crowded, area full of pub goers and drinkers and revelers. But and we're right by Trinity College, and just the heart of downtown Dublin. So walked around and actually ran into Tower Records, and yeah, they still have Tower Records in some parts of the world, believe it or not. If you saw the documentary All Things Must Pass about Tower Records, which I reviewed on this channel a couple months ago, you may recall that Tower expanded into lots of different countries, and that was part of their downfalls. They expanded too fast. They really couldn't support all the stores that they put together in far-flung regions. And the Japanese store is still very famous to this day. The Dublin store, tiny little store. Well, for Tower Records, it's tiny, but it was actually the biggest record store we were in. It was 2 stories, a lot of good stuff, but by far the biggest record store I was in. Didn't buy anything. They didn't have any used stuff, but everything's expensive over there. Hit a couple other stores, some small stores, and that brings me to kind of the first philosophical observation about their music culture. Some of the stores were so small, they were like the size of one room, or just a stall, like the size of a bedroom. And I commented, I got more records at my house than this whole store. And that was true on some of these stores. And then I actually commented, I bought more records in the last month than this whole store has. And that was true. Some of these records only had some of these stores only had a few hundred records and a few hundred CDs. At first I thought that was a big negative, like how can people be record collectors here if the whole store only has a couple hundred records? And then I started to look at that from a different perspective, which is, okay, I'm an American and we live in the land of overconsumption, and a lot of us on the vinyl community on YouTube are obsessed with overconsumption and overpurchasing and too many records. This is my 4th IKEA module, the small one. I filled up 4 of them. I have like 50 cubicles of IKEA strewn around the house. I have 5 or 6 turntables around the house. This is an American problem. We have too much stuff. I don't know about the rest of the world. I don't think the rest of the world is as nuts with consumerism as Americans are. So, and even before the trip, I was already trying to figure out how to downsize and unload some stuff, and I've been buying too many records. I wanted to emphasize that Ireland is an extremely musical place. I mean, we experience music every day, and it was all live. So this is the point I'm trying to make here with the music culture difference between the U.S. and other countries. I don't know about other countries, but Ireland for sure. There's so many types of music in Ireland, I had to write some of them down. By the way, in Dublin where we were blocked from they have some kind of rock and roll museum there. Didn't go there, but there were signs all over the place and a lot of stuff on Phil Lynott, the guy from Thin Lizzy. Actually, they played a whole record of his in one of the bars I was in, and I'm saying, this is pretty cool. You know a couple of the hit songs from Thin Lizzy, but the whole album was good. So Phil Lynott, very much loved and respected in Ireland. And also Rory Gallagher. There was a Rory Gallagher kind of memorial thing. Rory Gallagher, U2, Van Morrison. There's a lot of great music coming out of Ireland over the many years. So anyway, I'm going to change the topic to the live music that we experienced, which was amazing. The pub scene. But there's also a lot of live music that's not in the pub scene that we experienced. Oh, what else did I experience? Went to 2 different distilleries, saw the Jameson and the Bushmills. And some of the locals said, oh, you shouldn't be drinking that. You should be drinking Powers whiskey. So this is Powers whiskey. A little more expensive, a little more intense, a little more, let's say, bolder. But we won't get too much into whiskey. And you're not supposed to have ice if you're a purist, but it's 100 degrees here in LA. So we're doing Powers with a little bit of ice. Okay, so the pub scene is obviously huge in Ireland, and that's like their home away from home. They're spending just a lot of time in pubs, and the music scene in pubs, there's 2 or 3 different flavors of the way you can experience music in a pub. There's traditional music, the old-fashioned jigs and reels, and people playing the fiddle and the banjo and that little drum called the bodhrán, I think it's pronounced. What they call traditional music, or trad. So a lot of the pubs will say trad music tonight at 7:30, and that might be local musicians, but that might be an open jam session. It's very casual. There's people just sitting at tables. They got their dishes and their beer and their instrument. They're just sitting at the table. 3, 4, 5, 6 people playing. Just like a traditional jam session. People could show up anytime and start playing traditional music. But in a lot of the pubs, they had featured musicians, like especially in Dublin and a city called Galway. They had, appearing tonight, Michael O'Shaughnessy, or whatever his name was, And that would be like a guy playing acoustic guitar. Maybe I taped some of this. Hold on. This is kind of cool. This guy doing a Foo Fighters song on acoustic guitar. So these guitar player guys, they would mix in American tunes and British tunes and old Irish folk tunes. Not traditional music with the fiddle, but just guys strumming the guitar. We heard guys doing, a lot of guys doing Bruce Springsteen tunes. And a lady doing a Queen song that was great. And Pink Floyd. But then a bunch of Irish and English songs that you and I wouldn't recognize. So that's kind of a second flavor of music that you would hear in a pub, is the folk singer person. And a lot of the pubs had those. And those were good. Those were entertaining. Third kind of music we heard in pubs, and I'm going to play you a recording of this in a bit, but this was kind of the most mind-blowing thing that I've experienced on all my Irish trips. I've been there 3 times, and this is something that we don't have in America, and this is the difference between U.S. and U.S. and Ireland that I want to point out. I don't know how many countries do this, and it wouldn't even be appropriate to do in America. People would kind of be weirded out by it. But you're in a pub, it's quiet, it's half full, people are just sitting there having their drink, and then some dude stands up off a bar stool and just starts belting out a song a cappella. He just sings a song. And then people applaud, and maybe they sing with him, and okay, Michael, now Seamus is going to do one, and somebody else stands up and sings a song. And they just kind of do this round robin thing where 4 or 5 different people get up and sing songs. Just, they're not there for money, they're not featured, they're not being paid. They didn't come to sing, they came to have a drink, but that's like part of their tradition, and I just think that's amazing. And I experienced that in private settings also in Ireland. Our previous trip, we had guests and family members and people from America and Irish people all together for dinner. And after dinner, the Irish, the Americans don't do it, but the Irish just get up and they just start singing songs. And so Ireland has this culture of live music where, okay, they're not selling LPs because I don't know if anybody has time to listen to LPs. They're singing songs constantly. So after dinner, you know, the mother and father, I think, got up and did some kind of duet. And then what really blew my mind was their kid, like a 10 or 11-year-old boy, stands up in front of 20 people by himself, a cappella, and belts out this Adele ballad that, I mean, everybody was just like, there was not a dry eye in the house. Now, would somebody in America do that? Could you see your 12-year-old son or nephew do that? And, oh, kids would laugh at him, and that's not masculine, and who does that, you know? That's just part of their culture. They do this all the time. And I just absolutely love the fact that they do that. So on this last trip, 2 weeks ago, similar experience. We were in a pretty desolate, out of the, you know, this hotel we stayed at that's kind of out in the middle of nowhere called Kylemore Pass. It's on the way to a great place called Kylemore Abbey, one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see in your life. But it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And I'd been driving all day, get into the hotel at 9 o'clock. I'm going to go downstairs, have a drink. There's nobody there. There's nobody in the bar. There's no bartender. Finally, the bartender shows up. He tells me about how I should drink whiskey, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then 3 patrons come in to the bar and sit down, and they're chatting like people older, like 65-ish, I would say. A gentleman and his wife and their friend. They're chatting, and then one of them says, "Oh, is that a guitar over there? Could I borrow that guitar? Whose guitar is that?" "Oh, that's the owner of the pub's guitar. It's a pub inside a hotel." "Yeah, go for it." So he just starts playing folk songs and singing and kind of inviting us to kind of join in and be a part of it. He handed me the guitar, and I played a really crappy version of Blackbird by the Beatles. You know, I could barely get through it. I'm an electric guitar player, so I don't know too many acoustic songs. But I was just, you know, it is really, what's the word here? Special to sit and hear people just make music for other people, you know, just because that's what they do with their time. I'm going to play you just a couple seconds of this, and you may recognize the tune. And at first I thought it was an Irish folk tune, and it wasn't. It's a tune that you might know. Fast forward. On my phone here. That was the title, so you probably figured that out by now. Well-known John Lennon song. I didn't recognize it at first till they kind of got into it, and but just the way they do that over there, it's just amazing. Like, Americans don't do anything like that. And some of you are going to say, "Oh well, at my house we play the piano once in a while," but you don't just walk into a bar and people are just singing. Not a karaoke machine. There's no blaring music on the radio, on the stereo. I mean, there might be, but that's just a real big part of their culture, is making music person to person and sharing that with people. And I just thought that was great. So the other whole music scene that is big over there is the Buskers, and that's a word we don't use too much in the U.S. Busking. That's sitting on the street corner, sitting in the street, strumming your guitar and playing and singing and whatever with your guitar case open, hoping to collect money. That's very big over there. Walking down some of these famous streets like Grafton Street and in Galway, you just see a lot of people doing that. Of all different talents and all different qualities. People with a big following, 20 people surrounding them, and people, you know, they have microphones and amplifiers, and they have little stands with their CD. I'm gonna get you a clip too. I just thought of another clip, so hold on. But in addition to that, you'll see people that were out there really because they needed the money, and they may have desperately needed the money. Let me adjust the yeah, you're seeing some buskers that are out there on the streets because they desperately need the money, and that's a little sad. And sometimes I saw some younger kids who were maybe 12, 13 years old, and I got the impression that mom and dad said, get out there on the street and earn some money. And so that's not, those people, they were not smiling when they were playing, and they did not have a lot of people rushing over to give them money. So that seems like a tough way to make a living. Busking for money, even when you didn't want to. Okay, I'm going to get you another clip here, guys. But this assumes that you know how to use a phone, which I barely do. So I will edit out this long pause. Listen to this lady. We're just walking down the street and we hear this music blasting out of the bar. I mean, I was 20 feet away and it sounded pretty good. Okay, there's another one. Where the hell is it? Okay, guy with an electric guitar standing out in the streets of Dublin.
This is good coming off the wall.
Anyway, more of the sights and sounds of Ireland, guys. Probably the most beautiful country in the world. I hope you get a chance to get out there and check it out. That's about it. So, sorry I was gone for so long, but I had a great time, and I'm going to go back to getting some more Irish whiskey in me. So, thanks for watching, and I will check you guys later.